Coming out on this a little different day than yesterday weather-wise, but we're just really happy to be here to announce the ability to get the City of Madison and its efforts with the new homeless shelter, $2 million from the federal government through our now community-directed fund earmark process. This is something where Mayor Satya had talked to us about needs for the city, and this was something, as everyone knows, has been a big priority for the City of Madison. We were very fortunate to, through the last year's budget process, our fiscal year technically ends on September 30th, able to secure an earmark for it. As everything with federal government, it took a little longer, another 5 months, but we got to the point a couple of weeks ago where the omnibus bill passed, and out of that, we were able to secure that $2 million for the new project that I know Mayor Satya has worked very hard on, the City Council's worked hard on, and we're really just happy to be a part of that effort and be able to help local communities once again. It's been a long time. This is the first time, my 10th year of Congress, I'm finally able to announce an earmark because we haven't had them in place. But for the City of Madison, this is very important for those who are homeless in the community. Having a new facility that is, as Mayor Satya will tell you, has many of the right components. This is just very important for the community. So, Mayor Satya, thank you for recommending this to us. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Representative Pocan, and thanks everybody for joining us here today. Representative Pocan has been absolutely essential in this process of securing support through the community project funding, I think that's what you're calling it these days, for Madison's new purpose-built shelter for men experiencing homelessness. These funds are an absolutely essential part of the project. And this project is long anticipated, and we are finally going to be able to bring it to fruition, thanks to the support from Representative Pocan and the federal government. These funds will help us construct a purpose-built men's shelter, which will provide safety, dignity, and opportunity for people who are experiencing homelessness. And it's very important that this is purpose-built, right? Because for decades, we have housed people experiencing homelessness in facilities that were not built to house people, in church basements, in old schools, in gymnasiums. This is going to allow us to actually think about how do we design a building that supports people who are experiencing homelessness, that need a place to sleep safely, to store their belongings safely, to take a shower safely, to access services, and to get connected ultimately to more stable and permanent housing. And to be able to start literally from the ground up is so important for us to build a facility that will really serve these people in our community. So I'm very excited about it. This project represents an absolute transformation in our approach to dealing with people experiencing homelessness in Madison and how we deliver services to them. And I am so proud to be working with Representative Pocan and with Dane County to, again, make this dream come into fruition. I also want to take the opportunity to thank you, Representative Pocan, for securing additional community project funding for a few other really worthy organizations that are doing great things in our community. I am not going to spill the beans on that today because I understand you have events tomorrow, but stay tuned for really more good news from the work that the representative has been doing for us in Congress. And just want to thank you again and to thank everybody in Congress for bringing this home finally. And with that, I think we'd be happy to take questions if there are any.
Yeah. Most people, will this be able to serve and help out?
It's an excellent question. I think that we are looking at making sure that we are able to serve the number of people that we're seeing right now. So that's in the 100, 150, 200 range. But the exact details are not firmed up yet because we are very much at the beginning of the process. We'll be issuing a request for proposals for architects and engineers and also for an operator, I think actually next week. And at that point, we just start the conversation on what exactly this building needs to look like and how many people it needs to serve.
I'm curious, as a congressman, you said this is like the first earmark. how do you decide? You know, like I'm sure there's plenty of other things that you have to prioritize. What's that process like for you? You know, hey, it's a city of 500,000 people or whatever, they need a new homeless shelter versus this or this or this.
Yeah, so let me go back a step as far as we haven't had these in place for a decade. And I was served on a committee called the Modernization Committee for Congress. It was an evenly split committee between Democrats and Republicans. We actually recommended bringing back earmarks in a more, in a proper way, transparent, limit the total amount of spending, can't go to a private entity, goes to a government or a nonprofit, doing everything they should have did well over a decade ago. And that enabled the Appropriations Committee to bring them back in a proper way. So what we do through our outreach in our local office is, we are in constant contact with people like the mayor's office in Madison, the city of Beloit. I was in Reedsburg this morning where we did a project. And we just reach out and ask what people are working on and how we could maybe help. Not every line of the federal budget is open to earmarks, so it's certain lines, so it has to fit that. But then, because we know this was a top priority for the city of Madison, we wanted to get that done, and we were able to find funding for it. So that's basically the process. I would argue that any member of Congress, regardless of their political affiliation, knows their district way better than someone in a cubicle in Washington, D.C. And that's really the argument behind bringing these back. And one Republican in Wisconsin and 3 Democrats in the House, as well as at least one senator requested them. I'm already going to other Republican members and saying, please ask for earmarks and I'll help you get them done, like I did for Mr. Fitzgerald, because it's important to bring those resources back to our local communities and help where we can help. So, for the city of Madison, this was an absolutely no-brainer. It's an important project, and, Mayor Satya's leadership on such a specific way of dealing with the homeless population, it's just really going to benefit so many people. We were very glad just to be a part of it.
Other questions?
I know there was an alderman who was a little upset not being cued in on all the planning process. Was where they filled in with this funding coming in, or are the alders all being kept up to date, I guess?
Yeah, so this will go to the council shortly, and they'll have the chance to take a look at it and vote for it, or I guess not. I hope they do. And as I said, there's going to be a very long process to both choose an architect, engineering firm, also an operator, nonprofit, and then those 2 processes will go forward together and will sort of interplay back and forth with understanding from the operator's perspective, what does that building need to look like? What services do we need to have? But also from the community's perspective, right? And this is where I really hope that our council, both the alders of the district and the nearby districts, but also our entire council and our whole community will really give their input into what they would like to see over the next months and probably even as much as a year. So there's lots of conversation to come. Frankly, there has already been lots of conversation on this topic. And I'm hopeful that as we introduce the resolution to move this all forward, that we'll have support from our council. And I do want to acknowledge Alder Regina Vitiver, who's here with us, and Alder Sherry Carter as well. So thank you both for being here, and I hope that we can move this forward together. Any other questions? Yeah.
What's the timeline right now for when the shelter will open? I know it's dependent on the council decisions, of course, but do you have an idea of that?
Yeah, so we expect, again, we'll introduce the resolution at the next council meeting. That will have to go to a couple of committees. Assuming it's adopted, we would begin the process of issuing the RFPs. That takes a couple of months. So I think we're looking at probably a year of design, consultation, and then, you have to bid the project out. So it would be probably about a year before we break ground. And in the meantime, it's important to note that we will be developing the Zaya Road site as another temporary shelter, so that we have time to really do what we need to do in terms of consultation with the community, with the council, doing the right design work, then the construction timeframe. So we will be moving out of the First Street site into the Zaya Road site, so we have the time that we need to do that. Anything else?
Whether it was the day shelter or locations for the overnight shelter, it seems like it's always been a moving target. Like, how locked in are you guys on this one location?
We are locked in. We own the site, which was the barrier in the past. Obviously pending council approval, this is where we're going to be. All right. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate you coming here, and thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.